Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Matt Fryer Golf Podcast. I'm your host, Matt Fryer. We're joined by Mr. Tom Fearon, and today we've got a doozy for them, Tom, I think. We're going to help a lot of people improve their games.
We are indeed. That is the plan.
Yes, I'm looking forward to it.
I like these microphones.
Yeah, new for the visual.
Play with these.
The visual listener.
Visual.
Oh,
visual.
Yeah, if you're
the
watching,
watches.
yeah, if you're watching us on YouTube, there's new additions to the studio, which is quite nice. Helps us actually not be hunched over.
Trying to improve our postures, aren't we?
That's now old age is getting to us. That is it. But before we get started, if you haven't already, please do make sure you have subscribed to the YouTube channel here, the Matt Fryer Golf Podcast. We've got some good stuff that we're trying to get planned towards the back end of the year, and some giveaways coming on this channel for that as well. So make sure you are on there. If you're listening to us on any audio platform, with it Apple, Spotify, Amazon, whatever one it is, make sure you do follow us, leave us a review, and also go and follow us on Instagram, or if you do have any of the overrated, underrated, you have any questions for us, info@mattfryergolf.co.uk is where we want those sending. We're starting to see a few trickle through, but we totally understand that not everyone's on Instagram, so if you are wanting to get involved in the show,
Good old-fashioned email.
good old-fashioned email, yeah, I do enjoy reading some of them, so it's, go over there. But Tom, hit us.
Speaking of giveaways, you just mentioned giveaway.
Yes.
I really enjoyed the 18 times you played the easiest hole on the course.
Ah, yes.
So you went to the Dukes and you played
the third hole.
Third hole, par 3.
Yeah.
18 times.
Yeah.
Quite enjoyed it. I enjoyed the challenge feature and the giving away golf balls.
Yeah, it's
Forgive
it's my
me for
favourite
not
hole.
knowing how many dozen golf balls did you end up giving away. Sort of explain
14.
explain what the rules were again, because you were going to add a lifetime supply if you made a hole in one.
A year's
And you
supply,
let-
not a lifetime.
sorry, a year's
Mizuno will
supply.
kill me.
So you said 24 dozen. That's a lifetime supply for me.
Yeah, well,
Don't lose many balls.
once a year.
So yeah, you didn't make a hole in one. You let people down, but
Yeah.
I did love the idea. It was a good video.
So we were given 10 dozen of the RB Tour golf ball, which is Mizuno's premium golf ball. And every time I made a birdie, we added another dozen into the giveaway pot. So if you haven't already, make sure you go and watch that video. Be a subscriber to Matt Fry Golf, the main channel, and you could get in there. I think we've got about 10 days left on that. But every time I made a birdie, a dozen got added. If I made a bogey, or worse, a dozen got taken away. And we played it from 3 sets of tees, ranging from, I think it was 145 all the way down to 115, and it's a great hole, and the weather was wild, which made it quite fun. We had a lot of stop starting. I saw someone comment how long did it take to actually do it, and we were flying at one point, and we thought, oh, we're done here in about an hour and 45 minutes, but it turned into about 4 hours because we were letting people through. Obviously you stood on one hole, and then the rain showers kept coming in very fast and moving through fast, but there was a lot of them. But yeah, a very, very interesting video. It went a lot better than the time I played the hardest hole there 18 times, which is the 11th, which used to be the longest hole, the longest par 5 in Europe to a point. It was up until about 5 or 10 years ago.
I'm guessing you enjoyed the par 3 a little bit more, less of a brutal task.
I absolutely love that hole. I mean, I think the course is going from strength to strength, and the greens were fantastic. So, as well, being quite close proximity with a lot of the shots. It was I was hitting them all to the similar spots.
You made a comment that no matter what tee you played from,
you
kept being the same sort of proximity.
Yeah.
Did you, as maybe you should, did you find the closer tee easier? Was that
Yes.
your easiest yardage as well?
Yeah. Luckily, they were that was actually the easiest one, and that was the only one that wasn't a full swing. Or the other two were like a full 9-iron, full wedge, and then a 3/4 50.
Just knocking a 50 down.
But yeah, it was a very good, enjoyable experience. If you haven't seen that one yet, do make sure you head over and go and give it a watch and get in the subscription giveaway as well. Dead simple.
On the ideal challenges, I want to kind of put out to some people to give us some comments, send us some messages of any challenges they would like to see. And I love to see some channels doing hole-in-one challenges. Where you sit on a hole for hours trying to make one.
I do want to do that.
We've spoke a couple of times about sort of doing as long as we can in the sim room until we make a hole-in-one.
Yeah.
I know that Pete's done a video where he can't leave the course until he's birdied 18 holes.
Yeah.
So I want to throw a sort of shout-out or a request for people to send in some challenges for the channel to do.
Yeah, send those over to the email that we mentioned before, info@mattfrygolf.co.uk, and we will have a look through some. And that's also, like you say, with the main subscriber giveaway that we've got as well. We are getting close to 250,000.
Very close.
9,000 away maybe now.
Yep, 9,500.
And one of them is there is a challenge for a listener, a viewer, to come down and play with me at Bearwood Lakes as well and win the full set of custom fit Mizuno golf clubs as well. We're going to have some challenges out on the 9 holes to sort of see what clubs you will end up winning. And there's also, for people who can't make it and come over and play, there is a giveaway as well.
Imagine not being subscribed. There's so many people watch the videos who aren't subscribed.
I think 58%.
And it just take you out of the running for a chance to win.
Just a full set of clubs.
2 chances.
Yeah, exactly.
Seems like trying to win the lottery with 250,000 subscribers. But if you comment, you engage, you're there. If you're watching, you might as well.
Yeah.
Might as well do it.
Defo, free set of golf clubs.
Go on then, Matt. How are we helping everybody improve?
So I've been thinking this week, it's obviously the hardest game in the world to play golf.
By far.
It doesn't get any easier. It doesn't ever get completed. It doesn't ever get mastered. Many have tried. Many have failed. And I've played a little bit of social golf. I had a charity event on Sunday that I played with a couple of friends of mine who are amateurs. I'd also played yesterday with my dad and one of his lessons, and there was just sort of the conversation of like, oh, God, it's hard, wasn't it? And like even when we were in the bar afterwards, after the charity game, how did you find it? Because it was a little bit rainy. It's just so tough, like. And then you get chatting to people. I'm just struggling with my game at the minute, and we always see, that people are struggling. It isn't I think a sport where you can go out and just get really good really quick, and you can get a hot streak. You can feel like you've caught lightning in a bottle, but it doesn't really last for that long. And even myself at the minute, I had a lesson off my dad the other day, and I walked to the course and I thought, like, oh my God, like, where is my game at the minute? Like, I thought I was doing some good stuff, like I was trending in the right direction, and then all of a sudden it felt alien to me again.
It's not a linear process, golf, by any means, is
No.
it? There's no. It's not linear improvement. You don't have linear performances.
No.
Anyone who's got a handicap these days, one thing I really do like about I keep calling it the new system. It's not that new anymore. It was for 4 years in.
Yeah.
One thing I do really like is you've got an app on your phone with the graph trending.
Yeah.
Almost looks like you're looking at the stock market.
Yeah.
That will
crashed.
Always be up and down and up and down. Obviously,
Yeah.
we want to see that the main line trending in the right direction.
Yeah, definitely.
But I think one of the hardest things for people to understand or not get frustrated with is they feel like they should play good golf every time or play to their ability every time, and you're gonna have bad days.
Yeah, definitely. So I've got 3 categories. So we're gonna do this section, which is why golfers aren't improving, and I've got
that's the question.
Yeah,
okay.
three sections that we're going to do. Once we've done this, we've got some overrated, underrated as well. Also going to talk a little bit at the end about a certain match that's happening. Yes. So let's get stuck into why golfers aren't improving, Tom. And the 3 categories that I want us to look upon and maybe give some advice and what we see as maybe common downfalls, areas where you might come unstuck. You might think you're doing the right thing, you might not be. And obviously, but we're both coaches fundamentally. That's what we train to do, and that's what our main jobs have been. And obviously, we see lots of golfers. We tend to see a lot of the same things, really, don't we?
Yep.
And I think we can probably steer people in the right directions just by making you think a little bit more. I think we had a video come out, I think it was last week, and we had a series last year as well about, you're using the wrong clubs, and that sort of posed a couple of questions in those videos, and a lot of the comments there were like, oh, I've never thought of these things. And we've actually got one as we record this today. We've got another one going out tonight about fairway woods and hybrids and driving irons, which is, the right club for you, and how should you pick one if you are going to get one. So the 3 categories that I want to look at is technology or bag setup.
Yep.
What golfers are generally using, because I think you will agree with me that when people come into the lesson bay, or come in, and see us for lessons, and they pull some of the things that they have in their bag out, it's just straight away red flag. Like, why have you got that? What's that in your bag? Why have you bought that?
Stop making the game harder.
Yeah, like, what are you doing? And it could be that, one of my mates gave it me, I'm just getting into the game, and you think, well, that's a quick way to not go anywhere fast. So we're going to look at technology, technique, how we actually play the game, some of the common fundamentals, the common mistakes we see technique-wise or execution-wise. And then lastly, strategy. I think that's probably where we'll get into some real good little tidbits that...
Easy wins a lot of the time as well.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
I think, you could probably apply a couple of things. All these things as well that we're going to talk about don't necessarily cost you hundreds and thousands of pounds. Some of it will be free. Some of it might just mean that you actually save money as well because you're buying the right equipment. You're not...
Or buying less equipment.
Yeah, you're like thinking, I'll try this. Will this be the answer for me? And, you're going in and making a blind purchase when actually, you could be at the total other end of the spectrum of actually what you need to do. And then in terms of technique as well, the only real, time thing that if you didn't want to spend, any cost that it will have on you is time.
Yeah.
You don't have to go and get lessons. There's free advice out there on YouTube. Yes, I do believe you should go and have personalised lessons, even if it is just one.
Well, can I pose my first question on that then and start it off with?
Oh, you want to go into technique?
I want to go into YouTube because you mentioned it.
Okay.
Does YouTube coaching videos help or hinder the golfer?
I think it helps you gain an understanding. I think if we look at it, as a blanket of golfers, not the specifics, and I was chatting with my dad about this yesterday, I think it can give you some good advice, but what I will say is that every single golfer that I have taught, everyone is different.
Yeah.
All got a different name, all different heights, all swing it differently, view the game differently, have different expectations, have different abilities. And what the YouTube, like the tips that we do, and I think that's why we see probably more success sometimes with our strategy videos, because they're a little bit more appropriate for maybe a certain category of player, i.e. you're trying to break 100, right? Okay, well, we don't generally go into super detailed swing advice. It's more strategy advice there that's going to help you. But I think, they will help you, but I think you've also got to, understand which one's for you, know your golf swing. You've got to, to steal a phrase from some of the best YouTube golf coaches out there, me and my golf, you've got to take charge of your game, and understand, well, how does Tom Fearon swing the golf club? What, when it goes wrong?
Like a pro.
Yeah.
Purist.
Yeah. Maybe not. What when it's going wrong? Well, why does it go wrong? Yeah. Because what I will say is that every golfer who swings it out there, we've all got tendencies. It's not like, one day I was gripping it strong, the next day I went out and I gripped it really weak and I started hitting it bad. You'll always, like I've been fighting a strong club face since I pretty much started the game, because my grip always used to get strong, and 21 years on, it's still the same thing. It shows its head in a little different fashion, but... You
have your tendencies and you'll come back to them all the time. Yeah,
so I would say, YouTube golf... instruction, yes, it does help you. There's some very good stuff out there. There's some stuff that I would question.
I have a golden rule, and it's now become part of my sort of initial assessment lesson with people to ask them, do you watch YouTube golf? Are there any coaches on YouTube you like? All say Matt Fryer, every one of them, funnily enough. Never met anyone who doesn't.
Brilliant. We can carry on with the lesson now.
Leave you to it.
Do you subscribe to his podcast?
I kind of asked that question, and I say to people, my golden rule is it's great for entertainment, it's great for education, and it's absolutely terrible if you try and apply everything you see. And that's simple. A very simple rule is learn, enjoy, don't apply it all. Apply the right things.
I used to teach a guy who had a terrible hook, like one of the worst hooks I've ever seen. But he was a real YouTube fanboy, loved everything YouTube golf, and he'd go off and he'd sort of, this is 6-7 years ago maybe. So this is like before like the course logs were, you know, your Brian Bros, your Grant Horvats, your Goods were, you know, there was more educational stuff out there than there was entertainment, I would say. And I actually put him on a ban from watching coaching videos because he would come in and we'd sort of straighten this hook out a little bit. He was getting into a tighter draw and he was feeling good. He's gone and watched a slice video, which is obviously going to get you down the way of hooking it, apply it, and just like the wheels would come off and he'd come back in. Won't say his name. How are you hitting it? Oh, not great. My hook's back. And I was like, who was it?
You get rid of the hook, pay the lady on the way out again.
Yeah.
Come
like,
again next week.
Yeah, it'd be like, who was it? Oh, I watched me and my golf video on like how to stop my slice in 3 simple ways. I was like, no! Yeah. Like you need to reverse it. So
and that information on there is correct. You're going and applying the wrong thing.
Yeah, it's just not for you. It's individual, isn't it?
Easily done.
Yeah. So we're gonna start off with technology, Tom. Okay. And I've got 3 things that I want to discuss with you that I think golfers are probably making the wrong choice with. We may have been led down a path by manufacturers because of how sets have changed. We may just be buying the wrong things. But I think if we solve these things, again, they could probably help.
We're making everybody better.
Yeah, exactly.
That's why we're here. Go.
First one is drivers.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah, much question.
And I think there's obviously, we know that the game gets easier with distance. If you hit it further off the tee and it's not, you know, unplayable, you're going in with less club. Yeah.
Yep.
Agree with
Agreed.
that? Yeah. Shot scope data, loads of that we've got in our videos that backs this up. But where I think we've maybe gone a little bit awry is that the sort of hunt for low spin, high launch bombs are for everybody.
Okay. Low spin, high launch, low accuracy.
Yeah.
Is what that sort of leads to, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay.
Now, I think there's a very good phrase the pro at Warrington used to use, and I would imagine a lot of golf pros use this out there when they talk to some of their lessons, and they would say when they're hitting the drivers, well, you're suffering with loft. You know what I'm going to say?
Go on.
Lack of something, talent. Yeah. But I think loft and spin, if we got the ball spinning a little bit more, would that be better for golfers? Would that help golfers out?
For
because
the vast majority of golfers.
Yeah 3-woods are easy to hit, aren't they?
Yeah. Well,
like how many people fall back on a 3-wood when driver's not going well?
Off the tee, yes.
Yeah.
Off the deck's probably a different story, which is where next week's video or this week's video goes into. People really struggle with 3-wood off the deck a lot of the time. But yeah, in terms of a replacement for a driver, or people finding mini drivers easier to hit, because it's got a bit more loft, because it's spinning a little bit more.
Yeah,
it's not traveling as far when it's going offline. So yes, there's definitely the low spinning. To go along with that, I feel like everyone's going for the sort of the stiffer shaft as well.
Yeah.
So it's like low spinning head, a little bit of a stiffer shaft.
Yeah.
It goes a mile when I get my 10 out of 10 swing on it.
Mm.
What happens when you don't get your 10 out of 10 swing on it?
We should know. Tell us.
Topped, left, right.
Bad, isn't it?
Rough trees.
I'm going through this actual thought process at the minute, and I've just been texting Alex, who's the tour manager from Mizuno. I've just sent him a list, and I apologise for what I've sent him because I must be just doing his head in, because I'm hitting driver okay, and when I get driver well, it goes good. And we sort of hear about this sort of like 2-2 spin number, or you're launching it around about 13 degrees with 2,200 revs of spin, maybe a little bit lower. Perfect. But if you're a 24 handicapper, that's going to be hard to do, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not doing you any favours.
And going back to the loft, I think because of where we were sort of sold with, marketing, high launch, low spin, it's the future. Yes, golf clubs have got more forgiving, and yes, they're coming off faster, and they are a little bit harder to shape. But when I played my golf day the other day with 2 amateurs, and there was another 20 amateurs in the field, didn't see many bullet straight drives.
No.
And I think adding more loft to a lot of people's drivers, like we see mini drivers now, like you've just alluded to a second ago. Mini drivers are becoming popular, almost faddy, I would say. oh, can't hit my driver. I'm going to get an 11.5 degree.
Would you say they're becoming popular?
I've seen a lot more of them in people's bags. Yeah,
I've still not seen many.
yeah,
I feel like they're getting released a bit more.
yeah.
I'm thinking maybe 2-3 people I teach over the last year have probably come in with them.
Yeah,
I don't feel like they're quite getting out there as much as maybe the manufacturers thought they'd be able to push them.
yeah. Maybe, yeah, tour players aren't using them as much. So that's always one. Reviews.
Matt Fryer's not using them.
Well, like I used one and I was like, this is great, but why don't I just get an 11.5 degree driver, which is one of the things that I've messaged Al about, saying, well, if I, like, obviously we're doing the series where I'm trying to win my first pro comp. It's not long golf courses I'm playing, generally like 6,100. If I could take 15 yards off my driver, but I knew it was going relatively straight every time, like with a bit more spin. Yeah. I'm like, great.
Well, I've just done it with the driver change I've just had, because I had the Cobra LS, which when I hit it well was massive. If I was confident enough to try and hit it high, exactly what you're describing there. If I was swinging it well enough to hit it high, it was going a mile. It was out driving people I was playing with most of the time. The ball speed was up there faster, and then I've now started using. And now got a new driver. I'm on the Callaway, and the ball speed's down 6 mile per hour, 5 mile per hour.
Yeah,
it's barely missing a fairway.
Yeah,
and it's absolutely fine. And my golf has been in a more comfortable position for the last 2-3 months.
Yeah,
I'm in the middle of more fairways. I've still got, like you say, wedge in my hand most of the time.
Yeah.
I don't need that extra distance, but that probably not leads us into strategy yet. But I think a lot of this will link into the fact that people's strategy is, I need to bomb it as far as I can. Maybe before they should be thinking that. I don't know.
But if you got more loft on your driver as well, or you got a higher spinning, like you said, I'm going to get a stiffer shaft again. Something I've asked Alex, should I maybe switch to a stiff shaft?
Yeah.
Like if I get instead of having X-Flex and everything, if I get a stiffer version of a stiff, will that put the spin up? Will that keep me on the straight and narrow? Because if I can do that, I'm fine hitting a 6-iron into a green. I know I'm not going to have any 6-irons into the greens because I'll hit it round about 285 through the air. And generally the par through at 4s are around 400 under that. So I'm like, and that looked like, I think, do we now, maybe as amateurs who are listening to this, maybe swallow a bit of pride and I think, maybe start trying higher lofted drivers. We definitely saw when I worked at one of the pro shops, I think it was a Cleveland driver, I want to say. They did a 13.5 and a 15.5. And the seniors section went mad for the 15.5. Full head, full 460cc. Yes, they were spinning it more, but they were popping it up in the air. And then you're obviously getting more carry as well.
Exactly, yeah. Once your swing speed slows down to that point where you're talking seniors, they need all loft to get in the air anyway.
Optimum launch conditions. But
Yeah.
I think we've just sort of we've got stuck in a sort of a rut that, 10.5 is as much loft as we want to go for.
Yeah, people see 10.5 as high loft.
Yeah, and you go, well, it's not that much. Like, yes, the ball's going to launch high, but if we need some spin, like, again, 3-woods, a lot of people will fall back on a fairway wood, like, I'm not driving it well. Well, why don't you have the longer shaft, the bigger head, just add a bit more loft on it so it makes it easier to use?
Yeah. I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
I think you've helped everyone there.
Yeah, I think...
no doubt.
It'd be interesting and then obviously you've got someone and you've got to take, like, the pros are just totally different beasts, aren't they?
We cannot sit there and relate ourselves to tour pros and buy the equipment because they've got it.
It'd be like me trying to set my car up like Lewis Hamilton.
Crash.
That's not going to end well.
Crash and burn.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that's one thing that I think, when you're looking at your equipment at the moment, specifically your driver, if you are really struggling with it, just maybe go try a little bit more loft. Maybe try that slightly softer shaft that could maybe pump the spin up and just see how that affects your performance. You could maybe, you could borrow something or just crack. Most drivers nowadays have the changeable necks on them that have got, generally 2 degrees, so that at 10.5 can become 12. No one's going to inspect it. Like if you turn up to the first tee with your mates and you pull out your ping and it's got 10.5, you go, whoa, Steve, what's that? Crank that up, have you? Not playing with us, 12.5, boy, off you go. Give it a go. If you then drive it better, you could, meet in the middle, 11.5, and see how that affects your performance.
Yeah, I'm just thinking into lessons now, or people who come in and they will always say, I'm not that bothered about distance as long as I'm hitting it straight. And then you see them swing a golf club, and it's all about distance. The speed, the aggression in it, the tempo in it really quick. You kind of think, well, in your head, I know you're thinking you don't want to hit it far, but your technique's saying you do. And I think that does lead into
why are you lying?
The equipment of standing there on the first tee and I just want to hit it past this guy. I just want to hit it past me 3 mates on a Saturday.
Yeah.
So even if you're trying to maybe tone your swing down a bit to swing within yourself, you want the equipment to try and give you that extra few yards, and you think that 9.5 degrees will do that for you. 9 degrees, but it won't.
No.
That'll just make you go sideways.
Erratic.
Exactly.
Okay. So we're both agreed on that one, that loft is actually our friend.
We had a conversation last week about we're not disagreeing enough, and you're going to have to do better than that to make me argue with you, basically.
We're not about arguments today. We are about helping people. The people get better. Okay. Wrong golf clubs in the bag, and this is specifically, this is one that I saw so much when I was at Trafford. Like clubs that are maybe doing duplicate jobs, clubs that are ill-fitted to you, clubs that are not right for the the conditions that you're playing in, the job that you're trying to, or the shot you're trying to achieve. That club is not adequate for that. So what would you say on that?
I think a big one you've said there are the duplicate clubs.
Yeah,
there's a lot of people with a 4-iron, and I'll be honest, a 4-iron and a 5-iron, and they realise that they strike the 5-iron really nicely, and the 4-iron probably just needs a hybrid instead.
Yeah,
because they can hit it better. A lot of the time with the duplicate club, I'd say it's the education of people not being aware of what every club does, exactly what every club does. And then I think people want to have the longer irons in the bag. The 2-iron, again, go back to looking cool, or
like
thinking you should have one. So I've got this 2-iron, but it's got a graphite shaft in it because I love hitting it off the tee. Great, it's not needed. The 4-iron, because I like the 4-iron. Part of the problem these days, I think, is to go and get yourself a 4 hybrid. We're talking upwards of £200 these days. So it's a tough bite to go, I'm buying a set of irons.
Yeah.
And I'm going to stop at the 5-iron.
Yeah.
The 4-iron, which I could get for maybe 80, 90 quid in the set.
Yeah.
I'm going to substitute and swap it for something that's £220, £240. That's a tough pill to swallow, I suppose.
Yes.
Might have a bit of a might be the reason people are doing it, but I think when we get to the top end of the bag, there's a lot of mistakes. And then I think when we get to the bottom end of the bag, that's where the other mistakes come.
Used to infuriate me.
Let's split now what you've just said. Let's split it into two first of all.
Yeah.
Go top of the bag first. So let's talk hybrids, 5 woods, 3 woods.
Yeah.
I'm going to throw a question back at you about 3 woods. Do you think there should be as many 3 woods knocking about as there are?
Yeah. We did a video on them saying, is it a pointless club, and what do you actually use it for? When you speak to a lot of amateurs, it's like, I'm struggling to get to the par 4s in 2, so I've got this 3 wood, but I just can't hit it. It's like, well, it's actually hard to, it's maybe the hardest shot in golf.
Yeah, it's tough.
Hit off
apart from a 70-yard bunker shot.
Yeah.
Hardest shot in golf.
Yeah, well, I prefer one of them. They're not like I like those.
I hate them.
But, sometimes you got a tight lie with a 3 wood trying to pick it off cleanly and get it launched. And it's hard, but do you maybe need a 7 wood? So I think, on that end of the bag, and again, this will lead into the sort of the bottom end of the bag as well. That I saw a lot of people with, like you said, the driving irons. Like, they were faddy, I think, for a while. Rory had one for a bit. Look at this new TaylorMade TP driving iron. Gorgeous golf club, amazing. But you need to be swinging it over, 110, launching it high, and actually creating the factors you need to get the most out of that golf club.
Yep.
They're not overly versatile. They might be, good off the fairway, and they'll be good off the tee. What they won't be great is that out of the rough, they're not going to be the easiest to use. Yeah. So would a hybrid be better for you? Especially as a higher handicapper, would you need one of a 3 and a 4 hybrid, or a 3 and a 5 hybrid to replace those long irons? So I think there's 3 wood maybe, but
I'm thinking, if we link it back to the driver we just said about, and we were to suggest to people, don't be too worried about dropping your driver to 12.5.
Yeah.
Maybe then knock your 3-wood down to a 5-wood as well.
Yeah.
So you've made your driver more accurate.
Yeah.
A little bit shorter, granted.
Yeah.
But then why not make your 3-wood that you may be struggling to hit? Why not turn that into a 5-wood as well? Which again, I know we drop distance a little bit, but we're a little bit more accurate again.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'm just pulling up something here from our video tonight, and you can actually see what every single golfer, thanks to ShotScope with all their stats, what like the average set makeup is here.
Okay.
So a lot of high woods. It's interesting when you get to over 16 handicap or over 15 handicap, 5-wood only really starts to appear there.
Okay. What's that, 16 to 20, but it's not really there for 11 to 15?
No, you see driver, 3-wood, 3 hybrid, 4 hybrid, then 5 iron, which I think's right, maybe.
Yeah.
Depending on that gap between the 3-wood and the 3 hybrid.
Yeah.
When we see, this is sort of 1 to 5, we're seeing driver, 3-wood, 3 hybrid, 4 iron, 4 wedges in that bag. It's interesting up at the other end, from 15 and above, we only see 3 wedges.
Yeah.
Now,
understandable.
That's understandable, yeah. And then when you see
everyone's got a putter, all players,
yeah,
all handicap categories,
and a driver.
Mental.
Yeah. But it's interesting because I think maybe that sort of 6 to 15 handicap bracket.
Mm-hmm.
I think maybe that there's a bit of scope there for like a bit of improvement. If you're around about 15, I'd say you're probably not getting up to every single par 4 in 2, are you? So is that 3 hybrid enough to? Would a 5 would maybe be better there? Because that's going to be easier to launch a little bit more.
Yep.
Get a little bit more distance out of it, still get the forgiveness. And do if you want to see all these stats, go and check out the video that we've just released. It's the Have You Bought the Wrong One? Fairway wood versus hybrid and iron. And it's quite interesting that, because I think that it sets itself up for the bottom end of the bag as well.
Just before you go on to that, I think just before we talk about wedges, I think that's really interesting because I'm looking at the sort of 16 to 25 handicap range there, which obviously a lot of people who walk into Trafford where I teach, a lot of people who walk into for lesson for the first time are up in that category, maybe even just above 25 because they haven't got the handicap yet.
Up there, aren't they?
But I think what we've got to realise from all the ShotScope numbers there is that's people who've invested in a lot of equipment already because they've got ShotScope.
Yeah.
And they've probably got a setup that's right for them. And I think if you're a higher handicap of 16 to 30 and that isn't your setup,
yeah,
and you're sitting there with 3 irons in your bag, because I see a lot of people who are coming in with granddad's old set out of the garage with a 3 iron.
Yeah.
Go and get it sorted as quick as you can, because on that video they're people who've invested in the game.
Yeah.
They've bought themselves a ShotScope watch and using the tech.
Yeah.
They're proper weekend golfers. So if you're just trying to get into it, become a weekend golfer who's looking to improve instead of granddad's 3 iron blade.
Yeah, exactly.
With a graphite shaft.
Yeah, that's it. You see some
and a grip
sets,
falling apart.
If you are in that category as well, where you've maybe invested in second-hand clubs from 10, 15 years ago, does that set still have a 3 iron? Do you need it? Are you going it's going to be so hard to hit? So that would be, I think it'd be interesting. And it comes down to gapping as well, because I see a lot of people who have 3 woods and 5 woods who actually hit them the same distance.
Yep.
And you go, okay, well, do you need the 3 wood then? No, because 5 wood's going as
exactly.
Just as close, and it's probably a little bit easier to hit as well. So you could get a 3 wood, a 5 wood, a 3 hybrid, a 4 hybrid, and maybe even a 5 hybrid now. You got rid of that 3 wood.
Yeah.
Because your 5 iron's pretty hard to hit still.
You've just spent a lot of money on hybrids.
You could do, but you could go and buy
it.
them second hand, couldn't you, and actually see some improvement? Because if you're at that end of that scope as well, you're not hitting 8 and 9 irons into par 4s for your second shots. You're probably spending more time with a longer club in your hand on a par 3 for a second shot into a par 4 for your layup on a par 5. So make it easier by getting the easier ones to use.
Yeah.
Which then, I think, then my third one for technology, which lends nicely, and I think this is because of manufacturers. This has purely happened. Again, something that I'm questioning, and I was trying to get the stats beforehand, and I couldn't quite find them from tour players. 4 wedges, too many or not?
Are we classing pitch and wedge in this?
Pitch and wedge,
Pitch and wedge included.
Yeah.
I think for your average golfer, I'd definitely say yes.
Yeah.
As you get into your lower handicaps, I think it purely depends. If you can have 3 wedges and you feel competent, and I suppose let's talk about your game. You're good enough that if you were to need to hit a knockdown gap wedge,
yeah,
you can. If you're a player who's maybe playing off 8 and 9 and you don't practice all the time because you don't have time, so you need to have full swings,
yeah,
you might want closer gapping.
Yeah.
So you
agree.
Kind of go, okay, I'm playing off 8. I don't practice every week, so I don't learn the knockdown shot. I like a full swing. Then create some good gapping.
Yeah.
And if you're a higher handicap, then have yourself a pitching wedge, a sand wedge, and possibly start to move into a lob wedge, maybe a 58, and only use that to get out of jail if you need to.
Yeah.
Other than that,
I'm thinking of going to 52, 58 because I'm like, there's too many options here now. I grew up with a 52 and a 58.
From 52 straight into pitching wedge then, or 9-9?
Pitching wedge.
Okay, so you're still keeping 3.
Yeah, so I keep 3 and go 6 degrees between each pretty much.
Yeah.
Because pitching wedge is 44, I think it is, or 45 in my set, so it's going to be a little bit more. It's going to be 7 degrees, and then it would be 6 degrees in that one.
Yeah.
But I'm like, well, I don't really use my 54 because it's an in-between one that I can hit from 80 yards in with a 58.
Yeah.
If I want to fly them lower, I'll just use a 52, or I use my 50 generally.
Yeah.
This 54 is just sat there, and then when I get chipping around the greens, now I'm like, is it the 54? Is it the 58? Is it this? And I go through sort of ups and downs with whether you should have 3 or 4, and also should you use one club for chipping. You're like, if you go down the Shane Lowry method, get really good with one wedge.
Yeah.
And then you can sort of, right, well, how do you hit this lower? How do you hit it higher? How do you hit it softer? How do you hit it spinnier?
And that's my kind of rule for people I teach as well. It's get good with one wedge and get good with one 8-iron or 9-iron. A good bump and run club.
Yeah.
And a good pitching club.
Yeah.
Just get really good with both of them, and you'll be flying.
Yes.
The other wedges, I think, are there more for if you need to shot create. So if you need to hit a little delicate one over a bunker, if you need to get one over a tree that's there, or you're playing a course with raised greens. But I still think a lot of that conversation is reserved for your category 1, maybe your lower category 2 handicappers anyway.
Yeah, and I think 58 is as far as you need to go. I think everyone underappreciates how hard you have to hit a 60 to make it go.
Yeah, I agree.
See so many people pitching with a 60 and go, short again.
I think I've said to you before on this, apart from the fact I don't generally play sort of 3/4 shots and full shots well with a 56, I think a 56 is the most loft I would need around a green. Yep. I'd feel more than comfortable enough opening that up a little bit. Yeah. Plenty of loft there. I just, for some reason, I don't like them I've always had a 54. Yeah. So I like the 80-yard, 90-yard shots with a 54.
Yeah, it's interesting because like Tommy Fleetwood, 52, 58.
Yeah. But 60 degrees not needed.
And if you're getting if you're getting good and you're getting better and better and you're spending more time on that end of the bag, you should be able to do everything with a 52 or a 58. And then if you're a beginner, you're not overcomplicating it.
Yeah,
with
again,
an
I think
extra wedge.
All of these questions, and hopefully people are getting the idea that we're splitting this in my head, especially I'm splitting this into category of golfer as well.
Yeah.
Because put it in a scratch golfer's hand, a 3 handicapper's hand, they're generally going to be hitting it longer off the tee, and as you've just alluded to, they're spending a lot more time around the greens or within maybe a 9-iron distance. So you say to them, you don't need to stack the top of your bag where your hybrids are and your 2 irons and your 3 woods are.
Yeah, if you're competent hitting
because you're hitting your longer stuff well anyway off the tee.
Yeah.
So you need to really stack your bag down the bottom end, create as much game as you can.
Yes.
And then with your higher handicappers, we're saying you're probably not bombing it up to the green.
Yeah.
So you don't need to stack that wedge side of your bag, but you'd need a lot of options when it comes to 5 hybrids, 4 hybrids, 11 woods, 7 woods, whatever you need.
Yeah. Interesting. So little
like
summary there on technology. A little bit more loft on driver.
Yep.
Backspin is your friend. It will keep it a little bit straighter.
Yep.
You don't have to have high launch, low spin. When you're getting good, when you're competent, when your swing's in a good position, yes, maybe, definitely, by all means. Wrong clubs, make sure we've not got clubs doing identical jobs and that they are right for you. And wedges, I would say, don't have a look at what's actually necessary for your handicap. Are you overcomplicating it for yourself?
Too many options.
Have you got too many, and there's an underused one? Have you got too much loft? I see people with 64s, and you think, ugh, what are you doing with that?
Yeah.
Okay. Technique-wise, and I've put some down, and I think we'll sort of get through these ones pretty quickly, as well. Strategy we'll spend a little bit more time on, but I think there's 3 quick wins we can make on our technique. And as we said at the start of this, everyone is different. Everyone swings it differently, has different abilities. Everyone has different athleticism. So, with these little ones, these are things that you can go and practice, put a little bit of time in, you should see improvement. But we would also say, go and get at least one lesson from a PGA pro to get an idea of how your golf swing works.
Yep.
Yeah. So first one, putting. I don't think enough time is spent practicing pace putting.
No, I agree. This time of year, especially as we've got rain coming down on the roof, but the time of year that we're in at the minute, greens are in decent condition. We've got a lot of chance to get to the golf course. And I even said, regardless of whether I coach at a driving range or not, I still say to everybody I teach now, don't come the range so much. Get yourself down to the practice area, get yourself down to the putting green, roll, put the length of the green, and then try and make 6-footers and 10-footers and 3-footers, to be fair. Make sure you stand there making all of them. And you've got so many easy wins.
Yeah.
You can knock a good few shots off your score by trying to just be amazed how few people average 32 or less putts around.
Yeah, exactly.
If you can aim, every single golfer, I don't care whether you play off 30 or if you're playing off 6, probably looking at less than that many putts, but have 32 as a maximum amount of putts.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Then you're absolutely flying.
Yeah. I've just pulled a stat up here. This is because I did a short game video with him that's on the channel if you go and dig that one out. Luke Donald went through an impressive streak of 3.5 months without a 3-putt, which equates to 449 putts. Now, I said to him when we were not on camera, when we were going through what we were going to actually be doing in the video, said we're going to talk about putting because obviously you've had this stat. So was it just down to you holing out well? He said, no, all down to my pace. Yeah. Because I was, sometimes I was hitting it close, sometimes I wasn't. When I had a long putt on a par 5, when I had, a long putt on a par 4, because obviously he's not the longest of hitters, so he was going in with maybe a club less, so his proximity might have been a little bit out there. He just relied solely on that lag putting, and as you've just alluded to there, get a little bit of time spent on the greens. If you can start to, turn that long putt, which, as we've said, general listener of this podcast is in that sort of average golfer bracket of 18 handicap and above. So you're going to have 30, 40, 50 putts quite a lot of the time. Yep. So if you can, instead of rolling them to 10-foot, you can roll them to 4-foot, 5-foot half it to start with. You'll probably hold a few more of those as well. Easy way to lower your scores. So easy.
If everybody went and analysed their putts, I'd be very surprised if they were missing 4, 5, 6 feet left and right of the hole.
Yeah.
General directions, not that wide.
Yeah, not a million miles out.
A lot of people can go and test this out, and they'll realise that they are 4, 5, 6 foot short and long.
Yeah.
Consecutively.
No consistency either. Whack one, hit one short.
One way past one.
Yeah.
Completely.
Yeah, so definitely go and do that. Get down and work on some pace putting. With chipping, I think we, especially over here in the UK, we've been maybe too Americanized in the style or the approach to chipping.
This is where we need that 60-degree wedge, isn't it? To throw it up in the air as high as possible.
Fizzy, spinning around the pins, dropping. I remember growing up, like my dad had taught me, right, here's your 7-iron, and obviously like a 7-iron now would be pretty much what a 9-iron was back then. But just chip and run with this. Get it along the ground, get it running like a putt. And when you do hear the pros actually talk a lot of the time, they're like, I want the ball rolling towards the hole because it's got a chance of going in then. And I think we're maybe a little bit too eager sometimes to get loft in our hands when we're chipping.
I love using the phrase with people I teach saying, tell them to put with loft. Just put with lack off. Put with loft.
Yeah.
Simple as that. If you pick a target that's only 4 feet in front of you with an 8-iron in your hand, and physics is doing the rest, because the fact is that ball will bounce and it'll roll.
Yeah.
And as long as you can kind of read the break, thereabouts, you can land it in front of you 4 or 5 feet. And I think something I love doing is just getting hula hoop with people, throwing it out on the green. They'll pick a sand wedge out maybe to go for this flag that's 20 yards away.
Yeah.
And I'll say, right, where do we need to land this ball? And we go and put a hula hoop out, probably halfway there. Yeah, depending on if the greens are wetter, maybe even further.
Yeah, I think we should caveat with this as well that if there is an obstacle in the way, there's obviously need for loft sometimes.
Yeah, we can't bump and run through a bunker.
Yeah, but basic standard chips.
Yeah, if we've got nothing in front of us, then I say, right, okay, how good would you be at even just throwing a ball to land in that hoop and get it to go close to that hole? That'd be pretty difficult. Then bring the hoop a little bit closer, throw the ball into that. Well, I can hit that target. It's so much easier to chip a ball into a target that's only 5 yards away, 6 yards away, than it is to chip it into something that's 15 yards away. So why are we making our intermediate target or our landing spot, why are we making that further away from us? What is the point?
Exactly. I totally agree. And I think we need to almost, you saw he didn't win it this time, but when Todd Hamilton won the Open, rescue, and obviously it depends on the course you're playing and what style of grass and what the undulations are like, but if we can get it running a little bit easier, and it's sort of, as well, with a little less loft, it allows for a little bit more error as well.
100%.
If you get that 60 out, which you don't hit hard enough and you don't quite catch it, it isn't going anywhere near as where you do it with a 7-iron and you might just catch it a little heavy. It's still got that forward rolling momentum.
Might get 3/4 of the way there.
Exactly.
Or because you're not having to move the club as quickly.
Yeah.
The one you absolutely hate to see is moving the 60 degree too quickly and thinning it.
Yeah.
And it goes 40 yards. And then with a 7-iron you catch it a little bit thin, but because the club's not moving at so much pace, it rolls up and sometimes it even stops at the right time.
Yeah.
Like roll. How many times do you slightly thin a bump and run?
Yeah.
Ends up 2 feet away.
Exactly.
Yeah, great shot. Yeah, got away with that one.
Got away. Yeah, got it. And then I think the final thing that I see so many times is that consistency of strike. We get, I think a lot of, amateurs go off, and I've said it in a lot of my coaching videos on the channel. We can sometimes sort of overcomplicate the game and go off looking for this magical mystery, this secret answer that someone's going to tell us that's going to unlock all the secrets. Now, if you look at anyone who's actually any good at the game, they all strike it.
Yeah.
It might not be. It might not be, perfect every time, even if it's a little bit toey, a little bit heely, but it's getting up in the air and it's getting moving forwards. And I think we can be eager to sort of just hit at the golf ball, as where I think will have done this, and anyone who is of a good level of golf now, when you're getting good and when you're practicing, you hit a lot of shots, sort of 3/4 half swings with a 7-iron, just trying to figure things out and just like, right, okay, let's find that strike. And I think we need to maybe spend a little bit more time and have a little bit more discipline in like, right, okay, I'm just going to go and get my strike before questioning, am I over the top? Am I over this? Because you can play good golf with an over-the-top golf swing. Look at someone like Bubba Watson, how he swings it. It's not pretty by any means.
Got to get the face on the ball. I'm smiling here because I'm thinking back to a lesson I give this morning, and people who've been in my bay, and if they're listening to this, will probably, if they know it's them, they'll know it's them.
It was me!
Where you say, let's hit some shorter shots, and great example today. We're trying to hit some half swings, and we've got sort of a little bit of an alignment came behind just to give a little bit of guidance for them to look in the mirror.
Yeah.
And just swing back to waist height and then press into that left foot and turn through. Just swing back to waist height, press into that left foot, turn through. I turn me back to go to my seat. Topped. What happened to the half swing? Oh yeah, sorry. I'll go back to the half one.
Please let me hit it full.
I don't think people do it on purpose half the time. It's a subconscious edge of there's an obstacle and there's a big field or this target's a long way away. I'm going to try and muller it.
Yeah.
It takes a little bit of control.
Yeah, exactly. And discipline, as I said a moment ago, you've got to have some awareness of how far you swing in the golf club, because actually when you hit these, I always used to love it when we were at Trafford, and I'd say, right, we're doing this now, we're hitting these half shots. You're going to, send it out 70 yards with your 7-iron, it normally goes 150. And they'd make a half swing and crunch it, and it would go 100, and they'd be like, oh my God,
how did that happen?
How did that go so far? Didn't even feel like I hit it. And you're like, yeah, because you struck it.
Yeah. Little half punchy shots and they hit it
just
further.
Get the ball on the face. Let's not think about murdering this golf ball. Let's just, make sure we've got some contact.
Yeah. And I think once people you'll have seen this before, once people see that ball fly from that tempo and from that strike, they also start to trust themselves a little bit more that they can do that. Once you see the good result once, you're more prepared to do it again and again. But because you swung as fast as you could one time and ripped it, you're just trying to search for that one. You must do that. You're trying to find that. And then once you believe that you can just turn through it, just let the club swing through the ball, it becomes a much easier game.
Exactly. Yeah. So those three things there: putting, chipping, and strike. If you can just get a little bit of a heads up on those.
And if there's one lesson, anybody, like you say, even if you just go for one golf lesson, don't skip. I know it's a very common word, but don't skip the fundamentals. Make sure you're holding the golf club properly. It doesn't have to be the most neutral, perfect grip. It has to be a functional grip.
It's pretty hard to play good golf and repeatable golf with bad fundamentals.
Exactly. It's not going to happen. So just make sure that you're not trying to, like you said before, don't worry about stopping trying to come over the top. If you're standing there and your shoulders are open and you're not holding the club properly, you will come over the top regardless of how much you try. So you've got to make sure you set up to the golf ball properly. And if you can watch any videos to help you with that and you're really good at imitating, great. And if you're struggling with it, then go and see someone and that'll get sorted out pretty quickly.
Yeah. Joe, check cameras, please. Okay, and then the final one, strategy. I think a lot of errors and a lot of scores are ruined or dropped because of poor strategy. And just put not really bad strategy, but just making simple little mistakes really that you think, well, why did you do that there then? And especially when we've been out on the golf course with people and we've seen these in playing lessons happen, they are common. And you think, well, you could knock 4 or 5 shots off there if you just did this a little bit better, just thought a little bit better about this. And first one alludes to, what we were talking about with driver, off the tee, right, distance, hit it as hard as I can, I've got to get it down there, get it as far as I can. But also just being aware of trouble off the tee. The amount of times that I've played with people, got onto a hole, and their driver goes 200 yards, say, and there's a bunker at 180 and there's a bunker at 200. And they stand there, hit a nice drive, has a little bit of turn on it, bounces, finds the bunker at 180 or 200. God,
and it was a good golf shot.
Yeah,
in reality,
actually,
good swing,
struck
good golf
it well,
shot.
Got it flighted, hit it your normal distance. So, God, why is that in there? Well, it was put there to catch you out, and it's done exactly that. The designer of the golf course intended for that to happen. He knew what you were going to do. And, you go, well, why don't you just hit a 4 hybrid? Well, I'm hitting driver off the tee. Well, that landing zone for you there, you've got about 15 yards, as where with your 4 hybrid, you've got 40 yards.
Yeah. One for me and more of an approach, similar sort of thing you're saying, is when, depending on whether the pin is front, back or middle, and people just kind of hit the club that they think they should hit from maybe 120 out.
Yeah.
Or there's a flag at the front that's 120. And they kind of go, when I hit this wedge really good, it's 120, but it's at the front and there's a bunker at the front.
Yeah.
Well, why not hit the 130 club to the middle? And then if you do catch it a little bit heavy, it's probably going to drop on the pin.
Yeah.
Everyone's going to say great shot, and you're going to think, I got away with it.
Yeah.
Like we said with the chipping. So if when you go to the par 3 and someone pulls the 9-iron out before they've looked at the yardage.
Yeah.
And
I always hit 9 here.
I always hit 9. And the flag today might be at the back and the tees are 5 yards back.
Yeah.
And you flush a 9-iron, you absolutely rip it into the bunker at the front.
Yeah.
That never happens because you didn't realise. You didn't think.
9-iron though, it's going to go on there.
9-iron always goes.
Yeah, that's interesting because actually the approach part of this, the next thing I wanted to talk about was exactly that, into greens. Instead of just going at flags and thinking, right, well, this is the number to the flag. It's well, why don't we play to imagine throwing a 20-foot square blanket over a certain part of the green and be aggressive to that spot of the green? Can you get it in this zone? I always talk to my students about zones, right? Okay, where's our zone we're hitting this to? Not where's the flag?
Yeah, if you put that 20-foot square blanket on the flag and you realise that 14 square foot of it is in the fringe.
Yeah, and in trouble.
And you're struggling to hit the green. Yeah.
You're in big big. And like you said, you can hit some really good shots, and just by making that poor decision of, oh, well, this is always my 9-iron, or this flag's 120, not thinking, well, what's beyond it? I did it myself when I played my comp the other week, let myself down in that respect because I didn't look beyond the flag. Yeah, well, I actually hit a good shot there, but wind's just a little bit stronger than I thought. Pulls up short. Game over.
Yeah.
Drop shot. And it might be, if you're an 18 handicapper, you could be coming down the stretch, and it could be the difference between you breaking 100 and not for the first time just by routine. Well, always hit driver on the 18th hole. Oh, I'm in the bunker again. Why?
I spoke to somebody, probably talking 2 months ago now, and this guy's a good golfer. He swings the club really, really nicely. Probably plays off about 11, 12. He's somewhere around there. And he come and played with me and a couple of the other pros from Trafford. And when we had a pint at the end, he said, I can't believe we played in pairs, sort of a little bit of a scramble, so there was a lot of conversation going on about what we were trying to do. And he said, I can't believe how much you lot actually think about it. That was his only takeaway, because he swings it lovely.
Yeah.
He doesn't shoot the scores he's supposed to. And he said, the amount of times you're talking about how high you're going to hit it and what your landing spot is, or you're throwing a bit of grass up to check the wind, and you might think, oh, I'm going to hit half a club more just because that wind might push it.
Yeah.
So just because it might push it, you're just protecting that shot. You're not trying to stick it stiff every time. You're accepting the fact that you might go 10 long, put it back towards the flag. There's so much to it, and I think your higher handicappers think less. And really, they should think more.
Yeah.
But your higher handicappers end up thinking less than your lower handicappers.
Yeah, definitely. And that brings me nicely to my sort of third point on strategy, which is your ability. I see a lot of people hitting shots or trying to hit shots that not even Tiger would do. To, a flag that's tucked tight left over the bunker, and they've got a bit of a slice or a fade. They start it left of that said bunker. It doesn't move, and now they've got this short-sided shot as where you go, well, why didn't you just aim at the flag and move it off to that big portion of green? Oh, I wasn't going to get it close, was I? Or on the other end of the spectrum, they go, right, I fade everything. I'm going to try and hit a little draw into this one. When was the last time you drew it? Like when did you draw it with success?
Couldn't draw on a piece of paper.
I've sort of stuck away, and it's something that I'm trying to work on, getting a little bit of a drawy shot, especially off the tee with drive. I'm so uncomfortable doing it unless it's a right to left wind. If it's a left to right wind, and I'm, like as Graham said to us in the Tour Tiers video that's gone out, pros are working against the wind. They're trying to hold it into it a lot. I try to do that sometimes when I've not really got the shot nailed down, and 7.5 times out of 10
you swing it poorly.
It's not going well because I'm stood over it going, is this the right shot? Should I be doing this? And then I'm not committed, and I don't make a good swing, get a poor strike, and I get a poor result. And I think knowing that you can't hit that draw with the drive or the high draw, it's not an issue. You can work towards doing that. We can all go and practice some shots on the range, on the golf course, when we're not, under the heat of competition. But if you're taking on shots that have got minimal percentage of working out, and you've also not got, quite the ability level to do so, it's not going to end well.
Don't try it. And then don't get annoyed when your scorecard starts racking up numbers.
Yeah.
There's no
make
problem.
8 there.
By the way, there's absolutely no problem with going out for a bit of a practice round and saying, I'm going for everything today. I'm going to try everything just to see what happens. I've been out around my local course where I play, Helsby, sometimes, and said, I'm hitting driver off every tee. Because that's not par threes. Because I want to see how aggressive I can get, where it punishes me. Little knockdowns.
Little knockdown, cutty driver.
I want to see where it gets me and where it punishes me.
Yeah.
And then also go out and play where you don't even take your driver out with you.
Yeah.
And you don't take any woods. Take a half set. Go and nudge your 6-iron round and think, okay, well, I've benefited on these holes. I've benefited on hole 7, 12, and 15 by only having irons, and it's hindered me on holes 1, 3, and 6.
Yeah.
And then you realise that the driver round, you really benefited hitting a shot that you never would have took on because you've always maybe just nudged the 6-iron off the tee out of fear.
Yeah.
And you've realised that actually hitting a driver works well and gives you a short shot to the green. You learn so much by doing that and not doing what we said before, which is I always hit 6-iron here, so I'm just hitting 6-iron here.
Yeah.
I always hit driver off this tee. Well, try something else.
Yeah.
Experiment a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. So strategy there, just going over those. It's the shot off the tee. Yes, distance is good, but are you just hitting it into traps that are at those distances for your driver, or water or whatever it may be? We've got to be aggressive, but to a safe thing, and that's the same when we're hitting our approach shots. Just think about, right, okay, not flag so much, but zones, and then match your the ability to the shot you're trying to hit. Don't have the amazing high draw shot in your head, but ability wise we can't do it. There's nothing wrong with hitting, if you've got that fade, you've got that slice with the driver, great, aim down the left if it's a right to left dog leg. If you can't draw it, don't do it. Just make that fade work for you and get the most out of it. So I think overall there, I think we've had some very good bits there.
We have some good advice, and I think what we figured out is that it all depends on your handicap category and your ability.
Yeah.
A lot of it depends on what's right for you.
Yeah.
And you've got to kind of, as you said before, sort of take charge of your own game and figure out what you should be doing.
Yeah.
And not just doing what your best mate's doing.
Exactly. Yeah. We all fall into, and, just habits as well. We get out on the golf course. Right, here we go again, playing the same golf course. I'll do the same things and I'll expect a different result. Oh, it didn't work.
Yeah.
Wonder why.
Agreed.
Yeah, we are all guilty of it as golfers. And I think one thing, just to finish on this, is that, you can go and do all these things and you're still going to hit bad shots as well. I was the perfect example growing up.
You will still hate golf on its bad day.
Yeah,
regardless.
Exactly. You can put all the work in. No one has, found the secret yet. Jack Nicklaus, Tiger Woods, Rory McIlroy, Annika Soneston. They've all put millions and millions of swings on the golf ball and they've still all hit bad ones. It's just the ability to go, okay, that was a bad shot. I'll figure out what I did and I won't try and do it again, but I'll also go and just recover from this now.
Sometimes don't even try and figure it out. Just say it was a bad shot. I'll go and hit another one and it won't happen again. If it happens 10 times in a row, try and fix it.
Yeah.
If it happens once, I get it all the time in lessons. Why did that happen?
Yeah.
You swung it terribly that time. Don't worry about it. Just forget it. If it happens again, we'll fix it.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen again all lesson.
Yeah.
Why did I shank that one before then? Okay. Honestly, don't care because it's not happening.
Yeah, it was a blip. It was a blip.
Shall we move into some overrated and underrated?
Yes, this is a little longer than normal, so I hope everyone's enjoying it. We've got this. Have we got any questions this week?
When we start talking coaching, we just go, don't we?
Yeah.
We could for a lot. We could probably do.
We could do 5 hours on that.
We could probably do technique, one whole podcast.
Yeah.
And then go into strategy, one whole podcast.
Yeah, 100%.
Overrated and underrated though. While we're talking strategy,
yes,
I'm going to throw the first one in if you don't mind.
Okay.
I'm going with rangefinder lasers. Actual rangefinder.
I would say underrated, but using them correctly. I think a lot of people just get them and go, oh, I'll just zap the pin with it. Like I remember when they sort of first came to golf, as it were, walking around Warrington. I didn't own one at the time. One of my friends lent me one. And I went and stood on every 150 post and got someone to stand in the middle of the green, me and another junior. And I lasered it from each one. Some of them were out, some of them were spot on. I was like, right, okay, there we go. So that's a good use because I can now pace up to those when I'm doing it. Using it for like my gapping. I used to stand on the practice ground and hit shots, like put my golf bag at one end and then go and zap back, like find the proximity of those balls, standing about the middle of it. Go, right, okay, that's my average. How far is that going? If you're just using it just to hit pins, a bit overrated. Yeah, but if you actually use it correctly, underrated.
Yeah, that's my problem. If people just zap the flag, that's it.
That's it.
And people sometimes look at me a bit funny if I stand on a par 5 tee and I get mine out. Yeah. And I almost like paint myself a picture and go, back edge of that bunker's there.
Yeah.
That tree's there as the dog leg starts. So I know that, okay, if I hit it straight down the fairway on that line, it runs out of fairway. Yeah. You need to be a bit more right. Paint a picture and then you can make a committed swing. Yeah. If you purely, and they're not the cheapest things in the world, you go and buy one and only ever use it to zap a flag. Yeah. Then, not the right thing.
One little thing I did with a student as well, which he said like changed his game because he was sort of like the typical person, like you say there, just zap the flag. We wrote +5 yards on his case. Mm-hmm. So every time he pulled it out, he zapped it, he added 5 yards onto it. Okay. Just to get him hitting past flags.
He was always short, I'm guessing.
Always short, like most golfers, short right. And it was a case of, right, okay, every time you pull that out, if it says 120, play it as 125.
Fine. Nice.
Even if it's downwind a little bit, you can, there, because with your missed strikes and everything, it was like, hitting so many more greens, I'm hitting it close. It was like, yeah, just change how you're using it, aren't you?
Good use of it. Very good.
Going on, sticking on the same subject then, playing with a half set, overrated or underrated, Tom?
Very underrated. Not on a competition Sunday most of the time.
Yeah, still do it.
Most of the time.
Yeah.
I'd say it's definitely underrated for practice.
Yes.
Get to know your game a lot more, back to what we said 5 minutes ago, where you'll learn a lot. You'll be forced to hit some shots you don't normally hit.
Yeah.
You'll find yourself with problems that you've got to solve.
Yeah.
And the feel of your game will improve massively.
I think it also makes you aware of like, I didn't actually miss that club. I thought, I didn't need my 4 hybrid at all today. I just used my 5 iron or my 3 hybrid. I didn't need my 54-degree wedge. I just learnt to use my pitching wedge or da-da-da. So I agree with you 100% there. I think especially in the off-season through winter, the more golf you can play with a half set, you'll see your game come on leaps and bounds.
Yeah.
Just because, like you say, you're getting almost uncomfortable, but you've got to find a way out of the scenario
you're going to find yourself in a scenario where you have to take sort of half a yardage off it.
Yeah.
You have to take 10 yards off a club sometimes, or maybe trying to squeeze an extra couple out of another.
Yeah.
You'll learn a lot, and it's good fun. And if you're carrying your bag, you'll have better shoulders, better posture, like we've got after these microphones.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, you hit me with one more, then I've got one more for you.
Buggy golf, overrated or underrated?
Quite a fan of it at the moment because of my bad foot. I do absolutely hate it.
Mm-hmm. Apart from when you can't walk.
Yeah, I think it's overrated if you have the ability to walk and enjoy the walk, just because you get a little bit more time in between the shots to chat to your playing partners and sort of take in, what's just happened as well. All right, okay, I hit that drive. Okay, you can just process a little bit as well. I think a lot of the time it's like, whack, right, jump in, whiz, up there, didn't really think of it, out, what am I doing now? And you've not got that.
I think you just get more feel for a golf course as well. How far before you get to your golf ball when you're walking are you kind of, even if it's only just 10%, kind of eyeing up the shot?
Yeah, you'll be looking like, okay.
20, 30 yards before you get to your ball.
Yeah, just making yourself aware of your surroundings.
Yeah, rather than feeling like you've just swung a golf club 105 times.
Yeah.
And you're done.
And then you take the wrong clubs. That annoys me. Like,
it's nothing worse.
I hate carrying my clubs over.
Playing partner goes away.
Yeah, that irritates me to no end. Like, right, okay, when I've got my bag, my trolley or my carry bag, I can walk directly to my golf ball, assess, pick the correct club as well.
I mean, car path golf, by the way, in the winter, by far the worst form of golf.
Yes.
Your buggies 50 yards away from you. We done it last year up in Scotland, didn't we? It was terrible condition anyway. We were just having a bit of fun for 9 holes.
Yeah.
And I think in 9 holes, I hit the wrong club about 6 times.
Yes, I can't be bothered. I just
miles
can't be
away.
Bothered. Yeah, can't be bothered changing this.
This'll do.
Yeah, that'll do. Oh, splat. Oh, God, why did that happen?
I think it's overrated, buggy golf. Like you say, unless you're injured and it gets you out on the course, that's a different conversation, but it's so overrated.
Yeah, if you're fit and able, get out there, get walking, enjoy the walk.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, last one. Decorative golf balls.
What's your Callaway Chrome Soft footballs?
Yeah, footballs, picks, golf balls, divide golf balls.
Do you know what? Funnily enough, the Callaway footballs got me out of a really bad spell of putting at one point, just because they were just that busy.
Yeah,
it was like going back to sort of being a kid again and just rolling it at the hole rather than having a line on it. I went through a phase where I stopped using a line on the ball and I just sort of went back to
mind melt.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. And then if you're gonna use the Chrome Soft with the green footballs, then I'm not helping you find it. Or the yellow footballs in autumn, I'm not helping you try and find it.
Yeah.
So any of that stuff, put it in the bin, because we can't find it unless you are so straight. We don't need to look for your golf ball. That's the only time I'm letting you use it.
Yeah.
And other than that, I mean, they don't offend me. I don't necessarily play with them, but they don't offend me. I don't know if I could call them over or underrated. What are your thoughts on that one?
I think they're underrated.
Okay,
if you've got a yellow golf ball, ditch it. Don't like that.
Right, fair.
But I think for just what you said, put it, if you get them, like, I'd use them at the moment, the Truvis. And that again was an alignment aid. If you use it correctly, not just as like, oh, mine's got a beer on it, or mine's got a little European flag, great, good one. But if you're using them how they're actually intended to be used, it's like the striped golf balls from TaylorMade.
Yeah, they're great.
A great way, like
they roll so
the amount of people you go, do you draw a line on your ball? Oh, I can't be bothered. We'll just buy some that they've got it on already. Like it's there. It shows you like a track. Like couldn't make the game, or that aspect of the game easier for you.
Unless you do what I done with the, because I play with tricks and balls because I get them, and then I drew some chrome soft lines on them because some
just snide that in it.
Well. I'm going buying golf balls when I got Strixon ones.
Trademark infringement should be down on that.
I'm now back to just the basic logo line these days.
Yeah, but I think if you're using them correctly, they are very underrated. I think the sort of box sort of thing with the 4 Truvis allows you to square the face, allows you to square your alignment, and gives you a good channel as you're going through, and even maybe just as a like, oh, that's my aim spot on certain things. So I think underrated for me, and it does bring a little bit of fun to the golf ball, doesn't it? Yeah, instead of just tightless black line.
Have you seen anyone using on the golf course yet one of the, definitely not intended to be used on the course, the Strixon ones which are half bright yellow and half bright orange purely for putting?
No, they are intended for the golf. They're
not intended for the course, are they?
Yeah.
They're purely a training aid.
No. That is a golf ball to be used.
They don't feel good to hit.
Yeah. They do. It's an AD33 or a Torsoff with just that makeup.
Nah. Have you not seen anyone playing with them, have you, yet?
I've got them in the office the other side down. Yeah, I've seen quite a few people playing with it. It's good for
yellow side,
especially on the tee. Like line it up and you go, right, I'm going to hit this side of the golf ball a bit more.
Tee and putting, fine. I don't think I could deal with the golf ball sitting 45 degrees one way in the middle of the fairway. Come over the top,
fishing the orange side instead of the blue side.
Yeah, and yellow side up in the autumn, and you can't see the thing.
Yeah,
can't find it.
Yeah,
we're getting close to golf balls under leaves, by the way.
I had a few the weekend. It very, very upsetting. Very, very upsetting. Lovely.
Short-lived.
Lovely. So decorative golf balls are underrated. Playing with a half set is underrated. Buggy golf's overrated, and lasers are underrated. Tom, hit me with a few questions before we touch on Bryson versus Rory versus Scotty versus Brooks versus PGA Tour versus Liv.
Going to be on overtime.
Yeah.
Right. Questions first of all. There's 2 very, very quick ones for this week because we actually covered a lot of questions purposefully in that anyway.
Yeah.
So we've answered this one before, but I know you love answering it, and it's your left shoulder. What's your lowest score and where?
It's here. Course record, Warrington.
Yeah, we're over it. Next question.
10th of the 5th, 08. It was the Few Memorial Trophy. I shot a 63. Yeah, I was 8
barely
under
out
on the
nappies.
back 9. I know, I had hair. A very thinning hair, but for a net 59, interestingly, I only won the comp by 1 that day. With a net 59,
nice.
Yeah.
Imagine you didn't.
Shot 8 under for the course record.
Imagine you came second.
Guy who got 60 was actually had a go at me. Because it was his best score. Why have you done that?
You shouldn't have, to be fair.
Yeah, I was
don't think you should have.
Okay. Nice one, mate.
Anyone else who asks that question for the foreseeable future of this podcast, it's not getting asked.
Okay, 63. We'll put a photo up of the...
put it on Instagram and then they can find it there.
Yeah.
And then somebody's asked for a 3-way golf bidder. Come on, this way, Matthew. Back in the room.
Yeah.
3-way golf bidder challenge.
Is that with Pete and Rick?
I would assume it's with Pete and Rick.
That's their content, so I have no say over that.
Not been invited.
Yeah, I also wanted to play in the Masters, but weirdly didn't get an invite.
One day.
Yeah.
Send that off to you.
Send that. Hi, Mr. Is it Herbie Johnson, who's the head of Augusta?
Don't know.
Can't remember his name now, the announcer. I mean, I'd love to. I think we were actually discussing the other day, it'd be great just to get me, Rick, Pete and Carter on a video again. We did it maybe 2-3 years ago. And, they always do well, and it's good to be out there playing with your mates. We are hopefully shooting something with me, Carter and Rick soon. Me, Carter and Finch soon.
Yeah.
Just got to get diaries aligned, but yeah, 3-way golf, it'd be nice, but like I say, it's their sort of thing, so don't want to impose or any of that.
That's it, Matt. We've answered a lot of questions.
Did we do them in the thingy?
Let's talk.
Let's wrap up with Bryson, thoughts on the match? Excited? We've got golf to watch. I'm dead excited.
After your rant a few times over the last couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Thought you were sort of at the edge last week when you were saying, I've got no golf till April.
Well, that came out the day after we recorded that, and I was like, oh, yes!
Thought that didn't text you, but I thought you'd
So
be excited. Don't think it could be a bad thing, can it? At least there's some big names there, household names playing it.
Yeah.
I would imagine it's going to be... Do you think it's going to be the biggest one yet? Because the first... I might be completely wrong with the order on this. Was the first one the Tiger Phil of these sort of matches?
Yeah, it was done in the rain. Remember, it was like...
Yeah, that was the first one of them, wasn't it?
Was it not?
And then there was kind of Justin Thomas playing with Steph Curry one. And
there was four of them, though, wasn't there, in that one?
Yeah.
Was it not Tiger and Phil and Rory and someone else?
I don't remember Rory playing.
Yeah.
Let me have a look for that.
That's for Google. But, it was good to see it announced, because it's sort of like, it shows that there's still sort of friendships. Oh, it was Tiger versus Phil.
God, it was 2018.
Yeah, it was during the old pandemic, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Or just before it.
So yeah, it was just them, and then I think there was one. I can't remember who played it now, but I know did Steph Curry play?
Yeah, Steph Curry played one. And
Justin Thomas with it, and there were, I think, 2 pros and 2.
I've not really watched them since sort of that one, but this is like...
Point being there, this has got to be the big one, surely.
Yeah, 100%. I think, it's still relevant. Not that Tiger isn't relevant, but it's like competing stars, lads who are going to be competing for majors still. You've got, arguably your 2 best golfers, probably Xander's a little bit more up the ladder than Rory at the moment, you would argue. But Scotty and Rory versus Brooks and Bryson, I think it's going to be brilliant.
Well, it's throwing the live versus PGA in, isn't it? That's going to be one of the big polls.
Yeah, I think so. I don't want it to get too much about that. That would be my only thing. I just want to see golf. So, Bryson, who's obviously had a great season. Brooks seems to be doing pretty well again after a bit of injury, and then you've obviously got Scotty, who's just an absolute machine. And be interesting to see how Rory goes. He's playing the Irish this week, isn't he? So. Yeah, December time. Is it December the 8th?
It is. I'm just looking for where. Can you remember where they're playing it?
I think they're playing it at Walton Gardens. It's somewhere in Florida, isn't it?
3 clubs and a putter.
Yeah, they're going through the clown's mouth. I'm not 100% sure. I've got a feeling it's Florida.
Yeah, I imagine it will be.
Yeah. But, yeah, I think it's pretty cool. Like I say, I think what Bryson's doing online on the YouTube space is awesome.
Yeah.
Some really good stuff, and he's shining more of a light on, YouTube golf, which is great. It'd be interesting to see if he gets anything from this. Obviously, it's been run by TNT, isn't it?
Yes.
They're doing the broadcast, so...
I always think they do a good job of stuff like this because they'll mic people up. It'll be very up close and personal. It should be a bit fun.
Be interesting to see what the banter's like. Will there be a few digs like, you wouldn't do that on live, would you? Like, you play 54 holes live.
I imagine so. That will be fun.
Yeah. But yeah, overall, I think it's going to be a good one. And like I say, I just hope it doesn't turn into like look, it's live versus PGA Tour. Like, it's just 4 good golfers going.
Yeah,
for
I think the way it's been marketed so far, I don't think they're playing that game. They don't seem to be.
Who are you picking?
I can't imagine that Bryson and Brooks win.
No, I can't.
Not
Scotty's
going to just make birdies for days.
Just
match play. It is match play, isn't it?
I think so. Yeah, I don't think there's confirmed.
I think you would struggle to beat Scotty in match play.
Yeah,
if he continues to have the year that he's
dart it round. Yeah.
I would put my money on them to win it.
Okay. Me too.
You going the same?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Bryson might give him a good show. I think it's more Bryson versus Scotty, to be honest with
Probably, yeah. The main thing, not that Scotty will be phased much by TV cameras, but if it feels like they're in a TV production, which I'm sure it will feel a little bit more like that.
Yeah.
They'll be closer to the cameras, closer to mic'd up.
Yeah.
Bryson's going to be more used to that presenting side of it.
Yeah.
And maybe, as we spoke about in previous podcasts, of you talking your way through the shot or commentating on your own game, Bryson will be used to that.
Charles Barkley in the booth.
That'll be good as well. Like the commentator they're gonna have, I'm sure it'll be a good one.
Yeah, I hope they get something.
it'll
Like,
be
it'd be
fun.
great to see some, some like YouTube faces in it on there, wouldn't it?
Is that you asking for a job?
Hit me up, Bryson. I can get over to Dallas if you need to in December. Get out of this wet country. But yeah, overall, I think it's going to be pretty cool, pretty
So
special.
we've agreed on every overrated, underrated. We've agreed on every golf tip.
Yeah.
And we've just agreed on who's going to win the match.
Yeah.
Need more
We're
arguments.
We're just becoming one. Simpatico.
It'll be you sitting in the middle soon going,
Yeah.
I'm speaking for both of us.
Yeah, right. Well, that was very good, that, Thomas. I think hopefully there's been a lot of information there that's going to help golfers improve. I'd maybe just sort of go through those, write the questions down, maybe in a notepad or a text, and just sort of go and check those things off in your own game, or share it with your friends, or just say, like, I think this part of the pod could help you, so definitely share it around with your friends. If you haven't as well, like we said earlier, do make sure you are subscribed to all the channels and following us on the socials. Leave us a review on the audio platforms and follow us on those, and we will see you in another episode very soon.